dear viewer, and thank you for taking your time to be with us. It's approximately 9 p.m. and you're right in time for the Business Bulletin. My name is Andiro Ganga, ready to bring you up to speed with all the top stories making headlines in the business world. And as you know, we are all about business. Here's a glance of those stories. The Kenya National Monitoring and Evaluation Draft Policy, the National Treasury and Planning meet stakeholders to give highlights of Monitoring and Evaluation Draft Policy. Credit referencing. What crediting referencing means to the borrowers. Kenya is one of the countries hailed as an economic hub on the African continent. But even as we shine bright in a region grappling with vast challenges, we still pale in comparison to Asian countries with whom we embarked on the journey of self-governance in the 1960s. Key among these factors has been misappropriation of public funds as well as lack of utilization of the same. Now, in a bid to turn the tide, the National Treasury and Planning, through its Monitoring and Evaluation Department, developed a draft monitoring and evaluation policy, which is presented to various stakeholders today. Our reporter Karari John, who attended the event, brings us the following report.
Kenya is committed towards the achievement of the Big Four, Vision 2030, Sustainable Development Goals, Africa Agenda 2063, among other local and international development goals. However, for this to become a reality, there has to be an optimum utilization of resources. To this regard, the National Treasury set up a Monitoring and Evaluation Department to act as an oversight on the government policies, programs, and projects.
The department means well for this country. It really looks at aspects of improving accountability and transparency in the manner in which public resources are used. And it does that through making sure that the targets that the government sets are accomplished on time and on budget, so that it reviews and considers aspects of where resources may not be utilized properly.
While officially opening the event, on behalf of the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury and Planning, Henry Rotich, who accompanied the President on his United States of America official state visit, the Principal Secretary, State Department for Planning, Dr. Julius Muya, stated that the government is committed to management and accountability practices. He, however, reiterated that the ministry is set out to hand over the policy document for approval by 30th December 2018.
And to the best of my abilities to support the achievement of the agreed performance targets, I agreed to strengthen the national and the county monitoring and evaluation systems by submitting the draft National Monitoring and Evaluation Policy to the Cabinet by 30th December 2018.
The ministry has set aside 1% of its development budget for monitoring and evaluation so as to meet the developmental target within the legal and constitutional framework which exists. Unlike its peers on the continent, Kenya has never had a monitoring and evaluation policy. South Africa, Ghana, and Benin have ministries for planning and monitoring and evaluation, while our immediate neighbor in Uganda have a monitoring and evaluation policy in place.
Monitoring and evaluation is very important because when you measure something, you are able to tell whether you should do it, how well you are doing it, whether you are effective in what you had planned to do, and you're also able to allocate resources in a better and fairer way. And of course, there's the element of accountability. If you are measuring, then it is also possible to call people to account. And therefore, monitoring and evaluation is a very key and important panacea in the area of governance. And governance, of course, has one of the aspects of governance is fighting corruption.
According to the National Treasury and Planning, the purpose of the Monitoring and Evaluation Draft Policy is to increase and improve the implementation of government policies, programs and projects. This comes as the President is keen on fighting matters corruption and misuse of public resources. The Monitoring and Evaluation Policy will increase credibility, transparency and integrity in the use of public resources. Reporting for BrandPlus TV, I am Karari John Wambugu.
As the Credit Information Sharing Conference at the Kenya School of Monetary Studies here in Nairobi entered its second day, industry players continued to dissect issues surrounding information sharing and how technology affects the process. At the core of the credit information are borrowers whose data lies with various lenders. Even as the various institutions grapple with information sharing, what does this mean for the customers? Our reporter Daisy Wambua patronized the event to seek some answers. Take a look.
Great.
Speaking at the CIS conference, Kevin Mutiso, who is the CEO at the Shika Lending app, explains what the borrower-lender relationship entails and what being listed by a credit referencing bureau means and what impact it has on one's credit score.
The Credit Reference Bureau is a database of people who've borrowed money from a formal lending institution like a bank, microfinance, Shika, which is a digital lending platform, and usually it's both positive and negative. So the Credit Reference Bureau is just saying that so-and-so borrowed money and they paid on time, or so-and-so borrowed money and they paid 2 days late, and so-and-so borrowed money and they defaulted. Credit Reference Bureau does is they score individuals.
While most Kenyans think that once you're listed by the CRB, it is impossible to borrow money. But what it does, it actually determines the kind of borrower an individual can be. The CBK Governor, Dr. Patrick Njoroge, who officiated the conference yesterday, did acknowledge the importance of the digital technology in service provision, but again challenged stakeholders to work towards putting the customer's need first by ensuring that their records are up to date given the impact of such records have on the individuals.
The use of fintech is increasingly changing the interaction between providers and consumers of financial services, including credit reporting. I am pleased to note that financial technology and its impact on the financial sector will be a key part of this conference agenda. In the CIS context, customer centricity entails handling customer information fairly and ensuring data is accurate and updated continually. Today's technologies and digitized communications provide credit reference bureaus with a cost-effective communication channel to reach the market and be responsive to customer issues.
Even as most money lending companies in the country continue to seek permission in order to collect data concerning their consumers, it is important to note that wrong information may still be passed, a move that may continue to frustrate the credit environment. For BrandPlus TV Business News, I am Daisy Wambua.
All right, now the World Economic Agenda has never been as important as it is today. With both the West and the East fighting to gain dominance in Africa, a region touted as the next economic hub, Kenya is quickly becoming a key player in this fight. Now, world leaders have been trooping in by the numbers as they all come bearing gifts in form of development projects and bilateral partnerships. However, this has not been limited to visits, but also invites, as well as shown by the president being hosted by the leaders of the world's superpower, President Donald Trump. Now let's shift gears and take a look at the day's market performance, and here is a summary. is how the markets performed today, but for more in-depth analysis, tune in tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for my next big bet with Rachel Nderitu and Karanja Daniel as they carry out an in-depth analysis of the financial markets and other investment opportunities that are there for you, dear viewer. Well, that's all the time we had tonight on the Business News Desk. On behalf of everyone that made it a success, thank you very much for watching. See you tomorrow, same time, same place. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.